I hope you guys had a great day today, but we need to talk about this refreshing take on a Les Paul. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So the Music Zoo, again, going crazy. Check this thing out. Where do you even begin on this thing? We've got a very nice plain top with this kind of Honeyburst finish. Heavily wood grained, but yet you can still see there's a little bit of flame figuring towards the bottom. But by far the biggest elephant in the room is not the uncovered double classic white 57 classic pickup or the golden speed knobs or even the Floyd Rose in this case. What on earth is that fretboard? We've seen maple boarded customs all the time, but on an Axcess custom, I just cannot recall, or on a finish similar to this. It was only a few days ago that we were saying normally it's ebony or a natural if you're talking back in the 70s. However, in the 2011 era, they did toy around with other finishes, or you can get a little bit Zakk Wylde camo, or if you can't afford the Les Paul Custom, maybe check out the Raw Power series. It's basically a Les Paul Studio in a bunch of different colors that had a maple board. But Honeyburst? That combination with the white inlays and the pickup, I think it works. But what makes this even more refreshing is look at the back. Gorgeous. You get to see all the wood grain, and yet we still have all the Axcess goodies from the heel carve to the body swoop. And the back of the headstock has the Apex head carve, serializing it to late 2024. And the COA simply bills it as the LP Axcess Custom. But check out that side profile shot. Whether you like this or not, I think we can all agree it's unique. And I thought about picking it up for review and documentation, but I was like, is this something that only I like and then everyone else is gonna not like it? Like the Les Paul Jr. Rhythm that they did once? But no, that thing sold within a day, so you're already too late, but you could always custom order a different one. And hey, hold the phone, they actually put coil splitting on it too. But if you don't want to wait, how do you feel about this finish? It puts me closer to the mindset of Factory Burst, where everything else is the same. This one just didn't quite do it for me. I'm not sure if that really pale maple works with the more yellow stained one there. Had it had an aged clear coat or something to it, I bet it would have matched beautifully. But that also raises an interesting thought. Would Gibson apply a transparent finish over a maple board? Because imagine that, all yellowed over like this, or maybe even match the burst pattern. That'd be kind of crazy. Maybe the zoo can get him to do that. I mean, imagine like a trans purple board on a purpled Widow. I think there's some potential for greatness there. But then the back on this one appears to be black. But it looks like they spec'd it out to also coil split, and it's the same price, $6,900. They also recently listed a 54 Les Paul Standard reissue, although this time instead of P90s, you get the wrap tail piece. It's an ebony finish versus gold, and the back is completely matching, but they're saying this thing weighs 7.5 pounds with no weight relief. Really? I had to come down here and double check that 7.5. Usually, sub 8 is like the best you get. So if you've been looking for that light guitar, feel free to use my affiliate link down in the description to take you to this listing. That might be a good Christmas present for you. There was also a $7,700 brand new Les Paul Custom, but they called it two-tone Tuxedo Gold and Ebony. It looks like the top definitely promises gold and ebony, gold hardware, black plastics with a glistening hue on the front, ebony fretboard. Doesn't look like any crazy headstock, but then you flip it over to the back. It looks like they gave you a black stinger. But the neck is gold, the body's gold. Did they do the edges in ebony? Yes, they did. All right, I can get behind that one. This reminds me of something you'd see out of like the Gibson mod collection, but the fact that it's a custom ordered one-off from the actual custom shop of first quality makes it a little bit more special in my eyes. Nothing against the mod guitars, those have their own set of buyers and are cool in a different way. But when a regular Les Paul Custom's $5,500, you're paying about a $2,000 premium on that one. But is it just for finish options? Let's check. Looks like your regular pickups and everything else about the same. A little over 9.5 pounds. I thought this was cheeky. I'm surprised the custom shop let him do this. That's definitely an Ace Frehley inspired thing. But judging by the Nashville style bridge, this is just a regular Les Paul Custom again. The base level line of these is $5,500, so you are paying a premium, but not as much as the last one. It's kind of like that first one we looked at. It's got a little bit of ringy wood grain, a little bit of flame at the bottom. Plain tops are gorgeous in person. They just don't photograph to their full potential. But going up to the face of the headstock, looks like they tried to give it the kind of Schaller influence on your tuners. Take that back, they didn't try, they just did. Schaller tuners. Gibson's been playing around with the Grovers with the Schaller tips for too long. I got bamboozled. I suppose the biggest difference here between the Fraley run is the fact that you have an aniline dyed back. You don't find that on a custom too often. That's usually Les Paul standard territory. So that's why your Gibson custom decal looks strange. It's being eaten by the dyes. But they did another one with the Triple 57 Classics, more so taking inspiration from, I believe, a Les Paul standard he used at one point in time. It also reminds me of Peter Frampton a little bit. But other than the triple humbuckers, everything seems about normal here outside of our tuners, which are 70s inspired. This one I just thought I'd bring up because we haven't seen them offered too often. That was a couple years ago we did reviews on the Les Paul Senior. So it's basically a 54 reissue Les Paul, but they only do the bridge pickup, they omit the neck and make it a dog-eared, and then give you the dot inlays. And these are fantastic guitars. They're a little bit expensive for what they are. It's basically just a carved top Les Paul Junior, but they are a lot of fun. They called them the Les Paul Senior. But this particular example, to make it different from previous runs, I do believe, actually has like a slight burst to the neck. A little bit hard to see with the reflections, but this is definitely brighter in hue as compared to the body. That one's just a little under 8 pounds, so they're definitely speccing them light. This is a little bit of an older offering from them, a Torrefied top. We haven't seen Gibson toy around with those, or at least advertise them like that in a while. I guess the Music Zoo did a small run. So Torrefied just means they roasted the wood to remove excess moisture. Some guys say that gives you better resonance and sustain. Whatever the reason, it's kind of cool. It's a baked maple top in a roundabout way. So if everything else about this particular release speaks to you, there you go. You got another little talking point to make you feel happy about your instrument. I like the way that the finish is like a little bit burnt right here on the edge. It's nearly a fade. Well, not nearly. It actually is Kentucky Bourbon Fade. But stepping away from their shop, look what was listed yesterday by Tiger Shark over on Reverb. Okay, I lied. Originally came from the Music Zoo. Surprise, surprise. It's a triple P90 54 reissue. I had a Les Paul custom spec like this once. I called it the Queen of Clean, except for, it was a white Les Paul with all your usual appointments outside of the triple P90. They sound phenomenal because you got to remember, you don't find a lot of triple P90 guitars, and when you have the in-between positions, when you start blending them in different ways than usual, you just can't get that out of too many guitars. I mean, think Stratocaster with a 5-way switch, but with the P90s, and it kind of gets you into the mindset. But it looks like the back of this one's just your regular brown, with no additional shenanigans as far as stingers. This one is a gorgeous factory Pelham Blue Les Paul Custom. Surprisingly, just for the baseline price though, no premium associated with that. I'm not actually sharing this one because of the hue though. We just unboxed a nickel hardware Les Paul Custom. This one is also one of them, and it looks nice, but a viewer of the show sent me this because it's a palindrome, which means it reads the same forward as backwards. Custom shop 402-204. 402-204. It's not the coolest, but it's worth a mild mention. Thank you for sending it to me. I like repeater serial numbers better, like 400004 or 4242424. But it seems CME likes to sometimes give the zoo a run for their money. Here was a custom shop non-reverse Firebird 5 in Silvermist poly they did. 6,200. And I guess when I was laying this one out, I thought, okay, they put block inlays on this, but actually it's the Firebird 5, which is the fanciest version of this particular Firebird, and it should have that other stuff. However, you just don't see this model every single day. They're not very popular. There's a very small buyer pool for it, especially an aged one. But I'm glad some dealers keeping them alive. And I think CME's about the right place for that because they have the right buyer pool for that guitar. But I'm going to end out tonight's episode with just a stunning one by Thunder Road Guitars. If you're into these art guitars, I honestly think it's a good price, and I'm surprised it hasn't sold already. So, quilt top, absolutely insane. You can tell this area right here, it almost kind of borderlines into flame territory. That's going to move a lot, and you can tell you're going to have movement here. Now down here, it's a little bit more extreme. You might not get as much, but it's an interesting top that has both of the worlds going for it. But did you notice you've actually got the abalone purfling along the edge? And the abalone colors work really well with this bluish green hue. The hardware appears to be gold. They do not have a pick guard on here, regular golden knobs. But then you get to your fretboard, it's an Ultima, so it's going to have that flower pot and vine inlays. Again, it beautifully matches the hue that they put on the instrument. But as you follow that up, you get to the headstock, and these guys have been toying around with these a lot. Figured maple veneers rather than the usual holly or plastic. But this one gets the same abalone treatment for not only the Gibson logo and custom insignia, but around the purfling of the binding as well. You get your pearloid Grover Imperial tips, a brass truss rod cover, which I think is a good choice. Gibson and other things kind of start to disappear, but maybe that looks even more striking in person. But then you flip over to the back and the fun is not over. All super flamed back here as well, bearing a 2024 serial number. But how's the body? No, still mahogany, but they did do the purfling along here too. So very cool, but I'm glad I still have my maple-bodied Ultima in my collection. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.